Welcome to the Evolving Women podcast, where growth, healing, and empowerment aren't just ideas, they're a way of being. I'm Teresa Lisum, and in each episode, I'm joined by an extraordinary woman, one who is boldly shining her light in the world, one who is bringing her real life experience to each and every episode. And you'll be meeting my guest co host for today here shortly. She brings her heart centered wisdom and her powerful story to remind us all that we are not alone on this journey. This space is your permission to evolve, to expand, and to fully embody your most radiant, authentic self. So let's evolve together. Hi, everyone. So, my guest today is the amazing Kate Goggin. Welcome, Kate. We're so glad you're here. And I'm Teresa Lisum. I thank everybody for listening in to this episode of Evolving Women. We're just going to get started right off the bat with Kate's book. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little bit blurry, but 10 Little Rules When Good Jobs Go Bad. So I had the honor of reading that recently, and so many gems in there. But we're going to start right off with you thinking that success was a straight line. And how did that work out for you?
Not very well. Not very well at
Oh,
all.
oh,
Or good. Yeah, I thought it was supposed to be a straight line, right?
mhm.
But I learned in every job and every twist and turn that it's really just a very long trail, a very nice journey, and if you treat it that way, it can be quite satisfying.
I love that. A nice journey. I think sometimes we do forget that life is a journey and we have expectations and we're taught to believe that we should be at this point at this age in life, or we should be here when, we're in this stage. And instead of focusing on the journey and the delight that brings and the discovery of the journey, sometimes I think we're more focused on the end result or the goal than maybe we should be.
Oh, I agree completely. And I mentioned this in the book, all my attempts to control that that line and try to keep things in, organized and try to make sure I was on the ladder and it was an upward trajectory and all those good
Mm-hmm.
things. It just didn't work out that way. And when I started to really see all of these different choices as more of a patchwork quilt,
Mm.
that has its own beauty and its own creativity, then I really felt a lot better about it, and it of course took a lot of the pressure off of me to quit trying to control things.
Exactly. And I kind of think we're doing a disservice to our young people who we put on this trajectory of, let's say, college bound, pick your career, go, like we just have them on this straight path, supposedly straight path, and we feed them a line that is not necessarily true. I know so many people that started out with that goal in mind, with that, destination, got there and discovered that they didn't like it and then pivoted. But then, did they feel bad about themselves? Did they think themselves a failure? Like, I just am learning to believe or understand that let's encourage them to go on this journey of discovery with a curious mind and this patchwork idea that just explore, see where your bliss leads you, and tell them that right from a young age so that they're not living with these high expectations that they might fall short of.
Right, right. Oh, I think you're really hitting the nail on the head. And of course, your great coaching work with Strengths Finder and helping people know what those strengths are ahead of time. I just think that really saves people, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's almost like that big long journey can be condensed and you can sort of fast forward and focus on your strengths and not so much on your weaknesses. But you're hitting the nail on the head as far as advice to young people. And I think I enjoy working with young people, and I think that they have a lot to teach us. And I'm always paying attention to their lessons as well.
And they're here to teach us. Sometimes we forget that. We think as the adults, we're the teachers, but I learned when my kids were young, especially, they were actually doing the teaching. And I learned so much about myself just by having kids and
Oh,
where they were pushing me or whatever, or leading me, I guess.
I agree.
Um, so, yeah, young people, just be curious. Just enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey because
Yes,
it's a wonderful wild ride.
that's right. That's right. I agree.
And you took so many twists and turns with your job and your job journey. And thank you so much for being vulnerable in there, but still giving us things to think about in our own lives. I really think that your book applies to so many avenues, so many areas, not just job specific. But I do want to mention your mention of the artist's way,
Oh, right.
which is when I saw that, I just kind of giggled. My daughter, one of my daughters, loves that book, and she like does that once a week, or I don't remember what her schedule is, but it's very meaningful in her life as well. So that I thought that was an interesting thing that you also that seemed to be almost like a turning point for you or a real growth point for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the book is The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And it was definitely a turning point for me. And I think the subtitle of that book is something like Recovering Your Artist Within or something like that.
Mhm.
And I do think that we are all creative, and that if we can tap into that creativity, we can just bring better balance to our life in general. But her practice of what she calls the morning pages um, really became basic in my life. It really became so important to me, and has helped me really figure out, important decisions, and really what I want. I know that sounds odd, but
No.
the wonderful part of the morning pages and that sort of journaling technique that she teaches is that you're writing and reflecting on your own thoughts, which bring them out of your head, of course, and then
Mm-hmm.
make them a bit more objective.
Yep.
And it's a lot easier than to really make solid decisions, I have found. But the other thing I wanted to share about The Artist's Way and this book that I wrote is that I find a pearl every day
Mm.
when I write in my journal. And it's been so helpful, and was definitely sort of a backbone of writing this book, because the book that I wrote is 10 true stories that are based on my work life. And each of those little chapters has a lesson learned. And a lot of times, the lessons learned are the pearls that came out of my journaling. And so,
Oh.
yeah, so I mean, as an example, you have a copy of it there. Some of the um, chapter titles are "Claim Your Power," how I
Mm-hmm.
figured that out from a boss who was overbearing and a bit toxic. Another one, "Observe, Don't Absorb." That's your, dealing with your classic narcissist. Leveraging boredom, forgive yourself the unknown.
Mm.
That was a big. That one seems to resonate with a lot of people across the spectrum of ages and different groups. That's the story of when you do all that you possibly can to prepare, and you've done everything right, and yet it doesn't go as planned, and
Mm-hmm.
how to pivot from there. So yes, that's another reason too why I was so attracted to this publisher and this format, because at the end of each chapter are journal prompts that allow the reader to then create their own solutions. So it was just a perfect fit.
Yeah, I love that because as readers read along, you're giving them an action step. I know as a reader, an avid reader, I love learning. I love reading. I love absorbing information, but I don't always do anything with it. So I really appreciate that you give readers an opportunity to do something with what they just read. Like I said, take the thoughts out of their heads, see it on paper, because that objectivity in being the observer of your own thoughts is really, really important. And I'm talking to myself here. I'm not an avid journaler. I do keep a gratitude journal that I do at the end of the day. I've been doing that for years. So that's my way of journaling. It's very short and sweet, but journaling is so powerful for so many people.
Right, right. Absolutely. And yeah, it was so helpful to me, and it was really a turning point. I list some other techniques in there for folks to pivot and how to reclaim their power. But like as an example, one time that I used journaling to really help me make a job choice decision, whether or not to continue going further with the job that I had, whether to stay or quit, right, was just a weekend retreat. And I don't mean super fancy, and no, it wasn't a spa or anything like that. It was just a hotel with a peaceful pond and an indoor pool. And and that was enough between that little getaway and that weekend retreat of journaling to help me make my decision about that particular job and whether or not to stay or go.
I love, love, love that. Such a great idea for anybody faced with a pivot point. I love the word pivot, the pivot point in their life or decisions, giving themselves space and
Mm,
quiet to go inside themselves and not be distracted by external distractions or opinions, or just really sit with ourselves and think. I mean, how many times do we give ourselves that gift in this world? Not too many.
exactly.
So that is definitely a form of self-care that even if we could do it for ourselves in small increments of time, we might not always be able to get away for a whole weekend, but you can get away for 10 minutes, and just give yourself that quiet time so you could think more clearly. So I applaud you for being able to do that and knowing to do that so you can make that decision.
Yes, thank you. And I think the book has a lot of other really good tips and tricks as well that would be helpful to anyone. I mean,
Mhm.
back to the young people that you were describing, for example, say you're super smart and you master the job quickly and you're bored out of your gourd. Should you stay or should you go? Should you, pick another industry or sector? Should you go back and get that degree? You're faced with all these questions. And one thing I did in that particular instance, that was the chapter called Leverage Boredom. That's where I just sort of took that time to step back again and say, okay, let's see, what else could I, you know, tap into in terms of strengths and build on, and maybe take some training. Maybe I have to pay for it myself, but
Mhm.
it's something I can do. Grab a certificate, grab something along the side to sort of build up this interest, and then see if I want to go forward in it. And in that particular um, pivot, I was really, really helped. It was so helpful, and it was such a great positive change for me too. And I was switching topics at the time. I was working in an office that was helping clean up oil spills
Mm.
in the ocean, and writing about that and communicating about that. And I was able to pivot to aviation. So I changed sectors and topics and
Mhm.
everything altogether, but it turned out to be just a really wonderful fit. for for me after I had taken that time to step back and build up my certifications.
I love that. And I did something similar that point in my teaching career. I was kind of in a role that I didn't want to be. I wasn't happy that particular year and questioning my career choice, although I was deep into my career by that point. And yeah, I decided to learn something new, something that I always wanted to learn. So on the weekends, I would go, to school and learn this new skill for myself. And yeah, it opened up a whole new world to me. I mean, I didn't end up going in that direction. I didn't quit my job or anything, but it just opened up a whole new world of possibilities for me and a way of thinking. And oh, yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great story and a good one to share. It's really, I don't know, I think sometimes your job, your career, I think it sort of becomes a little bit of a punching bag because it's
Mm-hmm.
like the more we fill the rest of our lives, the better sort of ratio or perspective we have on that job. I know for myself, I talk about it a lot in the book, how much I was expecting it to be so many more things to me and and of course I talk a lot in the book about following the rules, right, that I had learned as a young person and what I thought, I thought if I stood in line and I worked hard and
Mm-hmm.
then
Yep.
I
Yep.
would be in line for that promotion or I would be
Mm-hmm.
in line to be recognized, and don't be a job hopper and all those really, interesting things that your mother told you when you
Yep.
were younger. But in the application of it in the real world and with the dynamic of all that has happened in the last 20, 30 years, it's just didn't apply and had to make up my own rules in order to find that satisfaction really.
Yeah, I love that instead of depending on that job to make you feel good, I guess we could say, make you happy, which I'm sure a lot of people do that, those external expectations. And then if we're not happy, then we're blaming it on the job. I love that you called it a punching bag. Maybe some people's jobs or careers has become a punching bag and they just don't realize it. Where you took the action, you took the authority within yourself to make your own changes and to learn something new and to open yourself up to new possibilities. The change started with you.
Well, thank you for saying that. I would fully admit that I was very young when I started working, and I describe how I grew up at work.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the writing and the job stories that I was sharing were, you know, was the act of me growing up in the
Right, right.
office and trying to really understand myself as well as all that I was doing and the effect I was having on people and all those key questions that you have to ask yourself. Am I a leader? Do I want to be a leader?
Mm-hmm.
Am I happier on a team? All those things. And
Yep.
I'm the youngest of six, and I always say, I was born on a team in a
Oh.
bar, and and I'm just happier on a team, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not as happy leading. So everyone gets to that point where you have to decide whether or not to take the management position or not,
Yeah.
and um, I learned the hard way that I am so much happier on a team and not in that spot.
And again, you were just growing, you were evolving, you were just living your life, learning new pieces about yourself. That's what we're all doing. We're all on this growth journey, this evolution journey, where we're exploring again and just finding out things about ourselves that we wouldn't have known if we didn't take this job or if we didn't make this decision or and they're all compiling on top of each other until we get to the age of wisdom if there is such a thing. I don't know.
Oh,
Sometimes I feel like such a little kid in so many aspects, that even at my age, still learning, still growing, still evolving. And I don't ever want it to stop.
I'm the same way, and I'm the first to say I thought I knew, but gosh, there's so much I don't know. So I'm definitely evolving and learning too. And I think that you bring up a good point too for women especially, right? The rules that we were taught, and for myself, I was in that cusp of you can have it all, but no one explained that you can't have it all at the same time, right? And like my mom went back to work after she had me, and that was probably not the best idea to go back to work with 6 children at home,
Mm, true,
um,
true.
with kind of limited daycare,
Yeah,
support.
back in
So
the day, yeah.
excuse me. So, yeah, I think that, she had to make a lot of really hard economic decisions, and I completely understand that now and appreciate all that she did. But for us, growing up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and in the workplace, it's just this constant message of, super you, right? You
Mm-hmm.
incorporated,
Yep.
upward. It's got to be an upward trajectory. And, how are you marketing yourself and how are you presenting yourself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. What did you just say that I wanted to pick up on? It'll come back to me, I'm sure. And there's so many more things to talk about, but when it comes back, I will interject it. So it sounds like you were really focused on your personal development, your growth, your evolution, and you just were following the leads, following the breadcrumbs, following the path. Whereas when I was growing up and my mom and dad, it was like, this is where you're at. You stay there for your entire career, for your life, whether you like it or not, suck it up. It's bringing in good pay. Stay there. Like there was never any consideration of doing anything else. And then I got to, become adult. My kids grew up, and I have lots of nieces and nephews, and their thing was changing, like it was not a big deal to change jobs and to try something different. And I remember my mother-in-law think or saying something about, oh, is that really a good idea to jump around like that? Like she saw it as a failure that
Right,
somebody was jumping around and that
right,
was going to look bad on their resume.
right,
But the younger generations, it's no big deal. And they are in that exploring type of a mindset. And I just love that. I mean, how many unhappy people were there of my parents' generation where their mindset was you stay there forever, you suck it up, you just hunker down, you put in your 40 years or whatever ungodly length of time. Some of them I know personally who worked that long, like yeah, that was just the narrative and the story they learned and they accepted, because that's a whole nother thing. Even though we're fed these stories and there's these beliefs, we just take them in without questioning them.
right. Absolutely. You're absorbing those rules and you're trying to follow those rules. And then what do you do when it doesn't work out? You have to make your own rules for sure.
Right. And yeah, it's all about being resilient. That word came
Yes.
to mind several times as you were talking. Being able to pivot, change, reinvent yourself. You obviously reinvented yourself multiple times.
Yes, yes. And I was also supporting my husband's career. So
Yeah, yep.
that was another dynamic of living overseas and reinventing myself overseas and then coming back to the States and reinventing myself here,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
several times back and
Yeah,
forth. Um, but yeah, I was just it's all resonating with me what you're saying in terms of, how to be resilient and how to reinvent yourself. And I think that, industries and the business world had to respond to that, right? So now you have more points on your resume if you show resilience, and if you showed how you
Mm,
pivoted and how
mm,
did you solve this problem. And it's not seen as job hopping. It's seen
mhm.
as, skill building, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What skill did you build in this place and that place, and how did you transfer it? So it's really been an interesting change within industry as well.
Yeah, yeah. You just, like I said, that reinvention just kept and recreating an identity for yourself, depending on what was happening at any point in time. And we need to give ourselves permission to do that. And even if somebody who's watching this and listening has never done that up until this point and are thinking like, oh, maybe I want to do that. As far as I'm concerned, it's never too late. It's never too late to reinvent yourself, try on a new identity, follow a different path, make your own roles. Do it. Why not?
I I agree completely. And I'm caution folks, this is not a book about how to, quit your day job and,
Hmm.
go pursue your passion. A lot of that advice is really not well organized. It's kind of you know something that is a bit more dreamlike. And I am really clear to people to say, hey, I started having feelings of change, and knowing that I wanted to change, and then trying to get my ducks in a row, financially, where I was living, what I was doing, the choices that I was making in order to align that to support the changes that I wanted to make in terms of, writing more creatively, and um, writing for myself more as opposed to writing for someone else.
Hmm.
Did a lot of business writing for a good 20, 30 years. And it was wonderful. I worked with wonderful people, incredible people, and it was a wonderful, great experience. But at the end of the day, I was crawling inside someone else's head to write and edit for them.
Hmm.
And at the end of the book, I share that I was really ready to, write for myself by the end.
And you kind of knew when you were ready,
I
correct?
I did, and there were other factors, right? Because like we were saying before, you bring your whole life to the table, and it just keeps happening all the time. And so by the end of the book, I was, really working my way out of these long-term full-time contracts, and trying to work my way more into, writing the book, writing for myself, that sort of thing. Again, just making sure I had everything lined up to support that kind of a decision. But
Hmm.
also, honestly, I was ill. I was really sick the last year of my full-time work. And I have this undiagnosed illness that's just a bother. You could call it a mystery illness, but unfortunately, the best doctors have not been able to diagnose
Hmm.
this problem, and it required a lot of emergency room visits. So in my
Mm,
last
wow.
year of full-time work, I was still doing it. So I had this condition that would send me to the ER in the middle of the night, and then
Mm,
I would, get up the next day and go to work.
mm,
I would get released and come home
hmm.
and
Wow.
try to sleep it off, and then go to work. And so that again, still beating myself up for that. That went on far too long, right?
Mm,
Because I was trying to be dependable, be responsible,
hmm. Yep,
be
yep,
the
yep.
person you could count on, and
Exactly.
giving myself permission to say, you've done all that you can. You're following all the advice that you can, but something's got to give here. So that was definitely a factor in making this change. But the irony is that, I'm a bit better now. And so,
Good.
yeah, I am able to enjoy that good health even more.
Yeah, good for you. I love that you all, and we probably should be wrapping this up, but one more question or comment. I love that you always had a side passion, from my understanding from the book. You always had some project, something that you wanted to bring out to the world, and you did it in amongst everything else you were doing in your life.
Well, I thank you for noticing that because it was a push-pull, right? I felt all along that if I were brave enough and courageous enough that I would pour myself into those projects full time and bring, be the artist or be the writer that I wanted to be. But I never really allowed myself to pursue that. And I was always doing the thing that paid the bills and being
Mm-hmm.
the responsible person with the mortgage and the and
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
uh, the family expenses. So and I just want to say that I was fortunate to create an alignment at the end so that I have a little bit more choice in what I choose to do with my
Mm-hmm.
time and with my effort now. So I'm very, very grateful for that.
But you did have to take some action and, like I said, get your ducks in a row before you could actually go in the direction you wanted to go.
Absolutely. I could not quit my day job. That was
Hmm.
correct.
Which I know some people do, but it's not right for everybody. And again, that's not what you're suggesting here. I know there's been other books I've read where people just stopped dead and then went, dropped their job and hope that their next choice would pan out, which it did, but so not everybody can do that. But I applaud you for making sure you did the responsible thing and put your ducks in a row
Thank you. Thank you.
first.
Thank you.
So this has been such a delightful conversation. Oh my God, there's so many more things we could talk about, but I do want to make sure people know how to get a hold of you, get your book. So can you share where they can do that, please?
Okay, great. Yes, the book is available at the publisher website, which is 10littlerules.com. It's also available in all the places where you would purchase a book, right? Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can even buy it at Walmart. It's
Oh yeah, cool.
it's available everywhere. And then for me, you can always find me under Kate.Goggin or Goggin.Kate. And those are the accounts, on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those places. And most recently, I joined Pinterest. So you can find
Mm,
me there as well.
cool. And I do want to mention that your author name is Kathleen Goggin. So if you're looking for Kate, you're not going to find her. But if you're looking for Kathleen Goggin, you will find her. And we'll definitely put some links, some contact information, where to get the book in the description. So look for that. Thank you so much, Kate. This has been such a
Oh,
delight. I hope we get to chat with you again because there's so much in this little teeny book. It looks small, but there's so much in there. And it's clean and it's concise and you did a great job, you and your publisher, your editor. So, and this is one of a series, right?
that's
Of other
correct.
little 10 little rules.
That's correct. And thank you so much for having me. It's just such a pleasure. I follow you online and I'm learning a lot from you every day as
Thank
well.
you.
So thank you for your
Thank
time.
Thank you, Kate. And if our listeners, our viewers, if you found this conversation to be of benefit to you and you know of somebody else who can benefit, please share this episode. Please, hit the share button. Follow me online, as you said, with all the things I'm supposed to say. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check out all my other awesome women that I get to have conversations with in the Evolving Women series. So thank you so much, Kate. Thank you to everybody who's listening, and we'll see you the next time. Bye bye.